Good day to everyone watching our next webinar, this time about work safety and how to prevent accidents at work. Before we begin, let me introduce today's webinar participants. First, let me introduce Nick Perry, Dayton Progress UK Sales Manager. Hi Nick, how are you today?
Hi Mojmir, I'm good, thank you very much. How about yourself?
I'm perfect, thank you. And
Jolly good.
Maybe you can tell us about yourself if you want.
Just very briefly, yes. Nick Perry, UK Sales Manager for Dayton in the UK. Been with the company for 8 years, and looking forward to telling everybody a little bit about die storage blocks.
Perfect, thank you very much. Next is Ryan Gill, the Operations Officer at Express Products. How are you, Ryan?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Yep. So I'm Ryan Gill. I'm the Operations Officer at Express Products. I've been with the company roughly 17 years, and we produce products for manufacturing companies.
Great, thank you very much. And finally, my name is Mojmir Kucera, and I work at Dayton Progress as a salesperson, and I will try to moderate today's webinar. So let's jump to it. Let's see what today's webinar will be about. So we will speak about work safety, about the importance of die storage blocks, about accident statistics in UK, how do die storage blocks work. We will speak about some benefits of die storage blocks, and in the end, you can send us some questions, and we will try to answer it. So probably Nick will begin. So Nick, it's your turn.
Okay. Thank you, Mojmir. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining for this webinar on the die storage and handling blocks. Before going into a little more detail about the product itself, I'd just like to mention a little bit about one of the key drivers for the introduction of this equipment, and that is workplace safety and the need to reduce the risk of accidents and injury. I'd like to highlight this with some statistics from the UK as an example. And whilst these figures are from UK manufacturing, it's probable that a similar picture exists in the rest of Europe and in the US. So taking the UK, for example, over a 3-year period between 2021 and 2023, there were over 10,000 non-fatal injuries reported in the manufacturing sector. This, of course, not only adversely affects the individual involved in the accident, but it also impacts the business operation. With 74% of those accidents resulting in an employee being incapacitated for more than 7 days, and that then leads in turn to over 580,000 working days being lost. I think it obviously goes without saying that the paramount concern for any company is the health and well-being of its employees, but it's also, however, we also need to consider the potential costs and other implications for the company. These things would include areas such as loss of production, increased personnel and admin costs, medical and legal expense, equipment damage, and the impact on employee morale that all of those things are going to have. Another consideration that I think would be, to take into account is, in addition to reducing accidents, regulations and on health and safety that companies must adhere to are constantly evolving. They're becoming ever tighter. I think the onus then is on companies to ensure that they meet current and new guidelines. As an example, in the EU, new machinery regulation will be implemented as of 20th of January 2027. What this means is manufacturers will need to use that time to address any new requirements, obviously, and existing requirements as well. And then equipment such as the die storage block can play a big part in helping to address any needs that arise from that. I'm wondering now, maybe it's a good idea for Ryan to give us an input on how big a part US health and safety regulation has played in in you introducing the DSB, and whether you could give us a bit more background, Ryan, on how you came to develop the product and the reaction you've had to it.
Yeah, so basically the way it started is we own a tool and die facility, which builds, stamping tools. We build dies for stampers, manufacturers, for the automotive company. We also own a manufacturing company as well, a stamping facility. So we have quite a few businesses where we're really into these dies, and we use them all the time. That's what we work on. That's what we maintain. That's what we, so we're very familiar with dies. And in the past, the way dies typically work, when you work on a die, so to give kind of the basics of why this product was needed, when you work on these big heavy dies that these stampers use, these tool and die shops manufacture, they get set on the floor. And when they get set on the floor to be worked on, the problem is they have all these steel parallels that strengthen the die, but those cannot go directly onto the concrete floor. So these stampers, typically what they do is they slide little blocks of wood underneath these parallels, and what that does is they're able to set the die down under the wood, and then it protects the parallels where the die goes into their presses where they run the parts. And if they don't do that, what can happen is the parallels can get dinged up, marred, or they can get chips embedded in them. And what that will do is that'll actually mess up the final part when they can start stamping and using the tool. So they always keep these guys off the floor, and they typically set it on wood blocks. And up till this point, that's basically been the only way you could do it. The only thing that you could fit under there, for the most part, was wood. Sometimes you use a plane or something along those lines. But the problem with that is when these people go to set these guys on the floor, so they're getting handled by lift trucks, forklifts, they get lifted or moved by overhead cranes. But when you go to actually set them down on the floor, these multi-thousand-pound, multiple-ton products, someone is lowering it to the ground, and then there's typically another employee who is then positioning the boards kind of exactly where they need to be under these parallels when you set them down. The problem with that is what happens is that introduces a lot of crushing accidents. So the person lowering the tool can't always see around the tool, around their high-low. They're not seeing the crane correctly, or they're hitting the wrong button on the crane when they need to stop or go up. And this person's got their hand under this big heavy tool, and it crushes their thumb or their foot or other things of that nature. And that is a big problem in our industry. It always has been for forever. And in our facility specifically, in our tool and die company, one of the owners of the tool and die company, he actually lost his thumb in that exact way. Someone was setting the tool down, and he was positioning the board, and he wasn't paying attention, or the other guy was kind of half paying attention, and he set the tool down, and off the thumb went. So what we did was we decided, hey, we looked around the industry, and there was nothing out there for this. So we specifically made up these die storage blocks where the handle is above the parallel. So everything, when you go to put these things on, it connects to your die, but your hands never ever go underneath the die. So when you're setting it down, when you're moving it around, and it completely eliminates any chance of these crushing accidents. So we initially started that within our tool and die facility, and then we branched out to our stamping facility. And then other stamping facilities saw this product, and they started saying, hey, we'd like to purchase that from you. So we began manufacturing them in high volumes, and pumping them out to the industry. And after a couple of years now, they've really taken off, and these stampers are loving them. We've shown them to OSHA, which is our I guess we'd call it our safety administration in the United States. I can't exactly remember what it stands for, but we showed it to them, and they endorsed it as well. And they said, hey, yeah, we definitely see a need for this product in your industry. So we keep pushing this out to more and more stampers. And it's starting to take off to the point where, hey, it's becoming a standard in our industry. And we do see this standard picking up to the point where, hey, this will probably be a requirement in the next year or so here in the United States. And with that, it's now starting to push to Europe, and Europe, it likes to follow the US standards. And so pretty soon we're thinking it's going to be into Europe as well, where this is actually going to be a standard, where, you know, it's a safety product. It saves your employees. It eliminates company liability, which is the big one originally, why we came up with it. Obviously, like Nick was saying, everyone wants their employees to be safe, but the stampers are really picking this up specifically to limit their liability. And pretty soon this will be a standard.
Okay, great.
So now I believe we have a video that we can probably start up next, which will show how it works.
Introducing safety die storage blocks, the safest and most efficient system for working on and storing stamping dies. Your team deserves to work in a safe environment. Handling dies is no exception. Crushing accidents are frequent occurrences in our industry. Minimize it. Help alleviate the possibility of ever placing a hand or foot under tons of crushing force. Conventional methods mean employees must reach under the tooling every time they set it down. Our safety blocks reduce the need for a user to place their hand or foot in harm's way. Placement is done above the tooling, helping keep your extremities clear of the crushing danger. No more unsafe reaching, no more searching through unmatching scrap wood, and no more wasting time wiping dies clean of dirt, slugs, and steel chips that accumulate from the floor. Die storage blocks elevate your tooling off the floor by 75mm, are rated to 30 tons each, and come in safety yellow for high visibility and quick recognition. Each block contains a strong spring-loaded handle that quickly and securely engages the block to the slotted casting or base plate for easy, secure, and safe installation. Just latch them on the die while your team constructs, maintains, and stores your tooling. Professionally showcase and store your dies. Increase your productivity and, most importantly, keep your workplace safe. Stop putting your team's fingers and hands in harm's way. Get your safety die storage blocks today.
Okay. Okay. So thanks, Ryan, for your background and some of the information you gave us there. If you want to put it on the next slide, please, Mojmir, we can just move on. Hopefully everyone found the video clip interesting as well. What I'd like to do now is just recap some of the things you saw and give you a little bit more information on the block specifications, and just recap and go over some of those features and benefits again. The block itself is an all-steel construction comprising a 102mm diameter base, and when fitted to your stamping die, it's going to raise it off the ground by 76mm, which is going to allow easy fork truck access. The blocks themselves have been rated at 30 tons each, although I actually believe they were tested significantly beyond that figure. When using a set, thanks Ryan, yep. The blocks are supplied in sets of 4 pieces, hence one set is going to support a 120-ton die. The handle is fitted with a strong spring. What that does, it ensures the block is securely fitted and stable in transit, so that when you're moving the die around your work area, it's not going to work itself loose and it's not going to fall to the floor. There are 2 sizes of blocks to suit different die bolster or flange thicknesses. They will suit a range of 25 to 50mm or a range of 50 to 75mm. As you can see, the ordering code for the blocks is actually very simple. It's simply the 3 letters DSB followed by the numbers which indicate the actual size range that you're buying. And both of those blocks sizes are held in stock in Dayton in the UK and in Europe. One final thing regarding the specification, as you saw in the video, and I think Ryan mentioned as well, this is designated as a high visibility OSHA yellow, and OSHA is Occupational Safety Health Administration. There you go, Ryan.
Thanks for that one. So here in the US, you pretty much just know it as the uh-oh company.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Uh-oh. Fines are coming, maybe.
Great stuff. I couldn't resist checking it out. I sort of had to do a quick Google on what it meant. Occupational Safety and Health Administration. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the next slide, please. as has been mentioned in the video, and obviously, it's quite clear that the principal benefit of the DSB is that it means you never need to reach under your very heavy dies. Your hands, as Ryan was saying, are always above the die, which of course is helping to eliminate the crushing risk involved with having to put something under there or use your foot to move it around and reposition it. You're taking away all that risk. As Ryan mentioned, you no longer, for example, need to find pieces of wood of equal size or thickness to place under your die. Such pieces of wood themselves may contain embedded nails or metal chippings that could, not only damage the die, but they could also again cause harm to the employee.
Yeah. So, and that's really worth mentioning here also is the fact that this is not just a safety product. So a lot of times what happens is if a stamper, let's say, introduces a safety product onto the floor of their facility, their employees on the floor just see it as a hassle. Like, all right, well, now I have to do this. Now this is going to take me more time. This is going to just be more of a pain in the butt for me. With this product, it's, the main feature is obviously it's safety, right? It eliminates those crushing accidents. It's for safety. However, the product works very well in the aspect that it actually saves the people on the floor time. They're not searching for those blocks of wood. So, when I was saying earlier, you typically, and you can see in the picture there, when the dies get set on the floor, you have to, place wood blocks there. Well, wood blocks come in all different shapes and sizes. So, employees are constantly looking for the right size blocks, where they match, where they're, not going to set the die down, it's going to wobble on the floor. So they're constantly searching for these things. And with these blocks, you can see here on the picture on the right there that, with the spring-loaded action, they lock on. So they're following the tool around the facility, whether it's sitting up on the shelf, it's sitting on the floor while it's being worked on, or it's heading its way towards the press for actual usage. This product stays with the die. No one's searching for these wood blocks. And then the wood itself, let's say you were using wood, the old method here. After you pick your die up and you start moving it, you have wood blocks all over your floor. And, that doesn't necessarily look real good to your customers if they're walking through the facility, but it's also a tripping hazard. And here in the US, it's a big violation tripping hazard. You can't ever just have stuff laying there like that. So it's something, this product is something that people actually enjoy using. It's not just a safety product. To give you an idea, when we first came up with this product, we made, say, 10 sets originally. And with those 10 sets, we introduced them to our tool and die facility floor. And we said, hey, what do you guys think of these? We're using them for safety. And the employees liked them so much that they actually started hiding them for themselves because there's only so many sets, but there were so many employees out there, they were hiding them. So if you ever have a safety product that's being hidden by the employees so just they can use it, it's a lot more than just a safety product. They don't see it as a hassle. They enjoy it. They like using it, and it's something that actually helps them. So.
Great stuff. Would you say it's fair to say that obviously they're easy to store in your working areas? They're easy to sort of locate and find. So as with bits of wood, you're not hunting around all over the place for the right size. There's something very visible in the work area, or maybe even on the fork truck itself. Exactly. Always there, always at hand, ready to use and ready to fit onto your die.
Yeah, and if you think about it just in terms of labor, right? I mean, there's a labor savings there. You don't want your employees having to waste time searching, right? If they're searching for wood, they're not working, right? They're kind of wasting time. This saves that time and kind of gives them that labor cost back. So they do save it on there. And then you can see in this slide here, we were talking earlier, the reason why you can't put dies directly on the floor is because, the steel chips and things of that nature that you can see in there. But what this does is, even if, let's say you were using the old method of wood, you set your die down on the wood, so you got the wood in between the floor and your die, and you set it down to keep it elevated so you're not getting those chips in it. Well, what happens is that wood itself, a lot of times that wood has been sitting on the floor. So you'll find that the wood itself has all those steel chips smashed into them. So again, you just took your die and you set it on the wood that's got these chips smashed into it anyways. So when you go to pick it back up before you run the tooling, set in your press, start running it, your employees have to go through, like on this picture on the right there, and clean off the bottom of every one of those parallels, make sure they're perfectly clean, because even one steel chip, when you're stamping on those parts, it can throw your parts out of tolerance, and the stampers know that. And that's the reason why you always got to keep those parallels so clean. And again, this not just a safety product, you don't have to do that anymore. Your die is off the ground, it's off those chips. Even if those wood chips were embedded in a piece of wood, you don't have to worry about that anymore. It's always going to be clean, it's always going to be off the floor.
Is that I think the next slide sort of mentions storage. So would the same apply with storage as well then, Ryan, in terms of you potentially you're keeping it off of a shelf or anything on a storage rack?
Yeah.
And again, that helps to keep it clean and tidy. I mean, I guess the other thing that the storage side of things does is it clearly demonstrates to not only employees that you're thinking about their safety, but you're also demonstrating to potential visitors to your company that you take good care of your extremely valuable dies.
Exactly right. I mean, a lot of these tools are in the millions of dollars. I mean, they're not cheap, right? And they want your customers, or the stampers' customers, like the actual manufacturers, the car manufacturers and whatnot. They know how expensive these dies are. So when they're visiting the facility and they see these dies sitting up on these blocks, they see them elevated off the floor, they love it. They like to know that their dies are getting taken care of. And that is a big selling feature of this product as far as, the stampers. The stampers have started realizing that, and that's one of the reasons they also buy from us, is they, just the fact that they're showing, that these dies are getting taken care of, right? Their customer doesn't want to come walking in their facility and see their die crammed in the corner on some wood blocks on the ground, tilted sideways, right? They want to see it stored nicely and neatly. And that brings up another thing, is a lot of these stampers have begun, they've been introducing it into their standards. So let's say one of these stampers has a tool or one of these dies made at a tool and die shop in our area, right? So that stamper has begun specifying in their specifications for that tool before it's even built that, hey, when you go to ship us this die, it has to ship along with these. So the stampers are actually telling the tool and die facilities, hey, we want you to include this with your die in your standards, specifically for that reason, because they know, hey, our die is going to be taken care of from here on out. It's going to be stored. Everything's going to be good. It's going to be kept clean. And they have actually begun pushing that. So that's another thing that's very nice for the stampers. They like seeing it. They like doing that. And it's just working good for them.
Excellent, great stuff. I think that's probably oh yes, just a quick summary there, really, of the things we've said on the final slide. Using the die storage blocks is going to increase safety for you. It's going to increase efficiency of operation, and all in all, that will help you save you time and money. I think that's probably it in terms of the slides. I think we've now got a Q&A session, if I'm correct, Mojmir.
Yeah, that's the right. Maybe we have the last one slide, and it's about questions. So if you have any questions, you can send us right now. Maybe I will ask Ryan. Last time we spoke about the forks that can damage the stem on the die storage blocks. Do you remember that? Can you say me
So
the
that is a
story?
question some people have, is, hey, are these things going to get damaged when we're moving them around? So but these things are very tough. I mean, they're built tough. You pick it up, it's heavy. It weighs nearly 10 pounds. Sorry, I'm not up to speed on my metric, but
5 kilos.
They're a tough unit. And what you'll see is, once in a great while, one of the stems will get bent. So what'll happen is, typically the only way to break these things is, let's say a high-low or a forklift is coming in, they go to pick up the die. While they're picking up the die, they're still moving forward. So what they're doing is they're basically sliding that block on the ground while they're moving forward. And even then, not the end of the world. What'll happen is they typically pick it up, no problem. But every once in a while, there's expansion joints in concrete floors and facilities. And if they're sliding right at that moment when they're about to pick up, and that block slams into that expansion joint, at that point, yeah, they can bend the stem a little bit on these blocks. Typically, even after they bend the stem, the stem can get a nice bend to it, or it'll kind of mushroom out depending on how hard they slam it. But even then, the block is typically still usable. A lot of times, a customer might just buy a new block just to replace it just because it looks nicer. But as far as usability, yeah, they still work even in those rare instances.
Okay, we have some question here. I will try to. Yeah. Hi guys. Does the dry storage blocks have any certification, or is any certification requested?
Yep. So they are certified to 30 tons. I can't think of the agency they actually certified through. That's probably something I should have written down before this, but they are certified to 30 tons. To give you an idea, though, the actual yield strength, so the weight at which the block will actually fail or begin to fail, where the metal will bend or start to crush or that sort of thing, is 140 tons. So even though the block is rated to 30 tons, the true strength of the block is 140 tons. So, I mean, there's no amount of dies you can stack up above on top of this thing where you're going to actually have to worry about the actual load limit of it whatsoever. They're very tough and they're over safety factored.
Okay. Okay, and we have another question here. Is it possible to replace the spring inside the dye storage blocks or repair them? Will the certification still be valid?
Yep. So the spring inside, it's basically it's popped on. You can see it when you're holding the actual unit itself. You can get it out with a wrench, needle nose pliers and a screwdriver. You'll be able to get it out, and you can definitely replace the spring. Some people, we have a spring in there that's kind of like a nice middle ground where it holds the block locked onto the die where you don't have to worry about it falling off while it's moving around the shop. It stays latched onto that die. But at the same time, the spring had to be soft enough where you could easily, with your thumb, open it up. However, we have had customers tell us, hey, we wanted the spring to be way stronger where, it'll never come off. So they've replaced those springs. I mean, it's harder to get it to latch on, but that's something that they did. They replaced it with their own springs, and there's no problem with that. That doesn't change the certification at all. The product itself, it really doesn't matter how strong the spring is. The only thing the spring really does is it's how hard it hangs onto that die, the parallel foot, while the tool moves around the facility. So, yep, not an issue at all. Certification is still good.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So we don't have any question now. Maybe Nick, can you ask something? Ryan, do you have anything to ask about that?
I've got no further questions for Ryan myself. I don't know if Ryan's got anything else he needs to mention or.
No, I think we covered pretty much all of it. I mean, this, just to kind of recap, this is a safety product, that prevents crushing, and it's becoming a standard in our industry, especially here in the U.S. Pretty soon, we believe that, it'll be a requirement. I think probably in about a year now. And then this is starting to take off in Europe. We do, there are customers over there that want this thing. And then pretty soon we do believe that, it'll be a requirement over there as well. It's not only a way for stampers to, keep their employees safe and to limit their liability, but, like we were showing earlier, it's a time saver. It speeds them up. It makes they're not cleaning off those parallels. They're not searching for wood. They don't have that tripping hazard of wood on the floor anymore. Their tooling's always off the floor and being showcased to their customers. Everything about it is, just stuff that they like. So, again, the safety, whoever's in charge of safety at those facilities, they love the product because they know it's, keeping their employees safe. The companies love the product because they know it's limiting their liability. And the employees don't see it as a burden. They see it as a tool for them that they enjoy. They want to use, they like using it because it makes it faster and more efficient for them. So there's everything about this product is a win for stampers and their employees. It's something that everyone likes, and the regulation is heading that way where it's going to pretty much be a requirement pretty soon too, just because of the safety.
Yeah, great.
I think there was another question just come in actually, Mojmir, I think, regarding damage to floors. Do you see any issues in the USA with floor damage
No.
by the DSPs, Ryan? Or
No, so I mean, concrete is very strong, right? So, I mean, the PSI of concrete is way up there, especially in these stamping facilities. They typically have extra strong concrete where you're not going to crack the floor or do any kind of damage to the floor whatsoever. However, with that, when we were talking about where the stems sometimes get bent in that special situation where it's sliding across the floor and the block slams into that expansion joint while they're, lifting it right at the wrong time, right at the wrong spot. In those situations, yeah, you might chip off that, a little chunk of that expansion joint if you happen to be doing it right at the perfect wrong time, perfect wrong spot. But for the most part, no, there's no issues with concrete whatsoever over here. We've never had a single customer say, hey, this damaged our concrete. Hey, this cracked our concrete. It's never been an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question. We do get that question quite a bit.
Yeah. Great. Okay, we
Excellent.
have
Great.
probably the last slide. It's about 10% of discount. Maybe Ryan, it's up to you to explain that us. I understand that you can offer us then, or you can offer our viewers 10% discount. I don't know exactly the period of time. It's into July, in the end of July, or can you explain us that, Ryan?
Oh, yep. I believe that's into July. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry. I thought you were asking Nick for a second there.
Okay. So,
Yeah, end of July. Yeah.
okay. Okay. So everybody who can have the die storage blocks with 10% of discount to the end of the July, and this is the last slide from our sides. I would thank you to everyone who watched our webinar today, and I'd like to especially thank our guests Nick and Ryan. Thank you guys very much.
Thank
It
you.
was
Thank you.
excellent. Thank you. And if you want to say in the end anything, please do it, because this is the end.
No,
So-
just thank you for everyone who joined us. Hopefully they've got some good information from it.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you
Ryan.
very much.
Thank you, Ryan.
No problem.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you, then. Bye.